Hello, you guys. So, today's video, we're going to go over something that I find to be interesting and particularly relevant considering we're about to go into this ISO 20022 testing period from the 14th through the 17th with the banking systems, and how that's also crypto week, which kind of makes sense that like ISO compliant coins are going to pump much more than other coins. Not financial advice. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to read the answers from Grok, then I'm going to pause my recording and think, even formulate questions, and then I'll unpause and read the next round of questions. Like even formulate questions as we're reading and stuff like that, like we've done before, and then start recording again or unpause the recording and do it that way. So there might be a break in between, but I just asked this one question. I was thinking, well, I don't want to get too deep into this conversation without bringing you guys along. So if I have more questions after this, which I probably do because this is very general, then we'll go ahead and address those later. And I'll be able to get a refill on my apple juice. So, yeah. Anyways, I asked Grok, can we talk about ISO 20022, cryptos in general, currency revaluations, and more things that may connect dots in this conversation? Also, what exactly is ISO 20022? Grok's answer, ISO 20022 is a global messaging standard. Okay, it's Swift. It's basically a crypto version of Swift. It's without the humans, and it's just a much easier way of communicating money amounts to be transferred from one location to the next. But I'll read Grok's. That's from my understanding anyways. It's a global messaging standard developed by the International Organization for Standards, ISO, to streamline financial communications between institutions. It's essentially a universal language for exchanging data related to payments, securities, trade services, and more. Oh, so maybe even it's like trade services, securities, and more. Kind of sounds like a smart contract. But not really like a smart contract. It just it includes more than payments. Using structured formats like XLM. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I was drinking apple juice. It went down the wrong pipe. Its goal is to enhance interoperability, improve data quality, reduce errors, and speed up transaction processing, particularly for cross-border payments. It's replacing older systems like Swift MT messaging by 2025, with adoption already underway globally. Interesting. So all of this is happening this year. ISO 20022 and cryptocurrencies. ISO 20022 isn't inherently designed for cryptocurrencies, but its adoption has implications for digital assets, especially those aiming to integrate with traditional finance. The standard facilitates interoperability by providing a standardized way to exchange financial data, which can help cryptocurrencies bridge the gap between centralized banking systems. Here's how it connects. Compliant cryptocurrencies. Several cryptocurrencies are aligning with ISO 20022 to enhance their capability with global financial systems. Notable examples include XRP, Stellar, Algorand, Verge. Benefits for cryptos: interoperability, efficiency, regulatory compliance, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Benefits for cryptos. Let me just read the CBDCs one. CBDCs, ISO 20022 compliant cryptos are better positioned to integrate with CBDCs as central banks adopt the standard for digital currencies. That doesn't really explain very much. Central bank digital currencies, benefits for cryptos, regulation, efficiency, interoperability, and CBDCs. ISO 20022 compliant cryptos are better positioned to integrate with CBDCs as central banks adopt a standard for digital currencies. Still don't quite understand it, but okay. Misconceptions. Despite claims no cryptocurrency is inherently ISO 20022 compliant at the protocol level, compliance typically involves integrating the standard into messaging layers for interaction with financial systems, not altering the blockchain itself. Ripple's CTO, David Schwartz, has noted that XRP isn't technically compliant, though Ripple as a company supports the standard. Currency revaluations and ISO 20022. Currency revaluations, adjustments to... Okay, the reason why I asked about currency, and I also might, because I'm just not wearing very much, might change out to a shirt in just a bit. Currency revaluations, adjustments to a currency's value, often tied to exchange rates or economic policies. The reason why I mentioned currency revaluations, by the way, is because the cat's out of the bag. People speculate in currencies that are on the exotic currencies list. So if you're one of those people and you hold like the Iraqi dinar or the Iranian rial or the Syrian pound or the Zimbabwe Zim, the Rupiah, the Venezuelan Bolivar, I think it's Venezuelan Bolivar, the Vietnamese Dong, these are all exotic currencies. And so they are all deflationary. Oh, they're all very deflated at this point in time. And people speculate that they will revalue. And if they do, it'll change in value. So it'll go from like worth a fraction of a penny to a penny, or it'll go from a fraction of a dollar to a dollar, like depending on what currency. So that's why this is interesting to me, because I feel like people who are into crypto are also into this. From my understanding, it's a speculative investment. It makes sense. Currency revaluations, adjustments to a currency's value, often tied to exchange rates or economic policies, aren't directly linked to ISO 20022, but can intersect in the broader financial landscape. Speculation on crypto value. There's speculation that ISO 20022 compliant cryptocurrencies could see price increases as they gain traction in traditional finance. For instance, posts on X and some sources suggest XRP and XLM could significantly rise, XRP to $8, XLM to $2, due to their potential to handle large-scale institutional transactions, possibly replacing parts of the SWIFT system. However, these are speculative and not guaranteed. Quantum Financial System, QFS. Some sources mention a quantum financial system, a theoretical blockchain-based financial network leveraging quantum computing. ISO 20022 compliant cryptos are often tied to this concept as they could integrate into such a system, but the QFS remains speculative and unproven. CBDCs and revaluation. As central banks develop CBDCs, ISO 20022 could standardize their integration with existing systems. A revaluation of fiat currencies, for example, due to economic shifts or CBDC adoption, could indirectly boost compliant cryptos by increasing demand for interoperable digital assets. Connecting the dots. this didn't quite answer my question, but I'm also somebody who's like, well, tell me more about this part because trying to tie this into, I'm trying to tie this into this, and see how, but it grouped these two things together. So maybe all of this is one thing. And when CBDCs are created, because I know that, like, for example, it's illegal for people to use anything other than, like, in Iraq, for example, the Iraqi dinar, it's illegal for people in Iraq to use anything other than a dinar. So, for example, and they all are also already converted to a CBDC, I do believe. So, it might mean that it's illegal for Iraqis to use anything other than their CBDC, including cryptos like XRP and so on. So, in order for the Iraqis to have like um, a one-to-one exchange rate with like other CBDCs and other stable coins like XR or RLUSD, it's going to be. I'm actually curious. RLUSD. A president. Looking Glass. USDT. Okay. Oh, I needed to. I'll zoom in for you guys. Okay. Sorry about that. So, I think that in order for other CBDCs, other people in other countries to be able to exchange or benefit from, and not like if somebody from one country A, let's call country like Iraq will be country. Well, we'll just say if somebody from Iraq wants to buy from somebody in the United States, a car like an American muscle car that you can only buy here, and it's selling for $50,000, 50,000 RLUSD. Well, that's what the seller wants. Now, the person from Iraq wants to purchase it, and instead of it being 50,000 of their IDINAR or whatever it is, their CBDC over there, it should be roughly 50,000 because right now it would be like 5 bajillion. Okay, so once they kind of get onto an even level playing field, then we'll start seeing more international commerce, because it'll be like available for people to do stuff like that. Of course, you have to pay for transport and all those things, and buying and selling a car is more of a. It's not like you could replace car with laptop or something like that. So, but the concept is the same. So, right now, even though there that Iraq is in this transitional period where half the people are holding on to their paper currency, and like another, like some people, I would say most of the people they're hoarding their paper currency, and some people have converted to a digital currency, and so they're just kind of waiting for this currency like revaluation before they turn their currency in because they think that they'll get more money for it, which is very possible. So if that's the case, then it could be it, it could be good for them to just hold off, but I'm not quite sure. I think that this ISO 20022 is going to make everything more. Let's do that real quick. ISO 20022. It's going to make everything more clear. Pleiadian. R.I.P. Gabrielle. Pleiadian. Ingrid. Angel Michael. Kraken. Decode hacking. Okay, wow. Connecting the dots. Traditional finance meets crypto. ISO 20022 acts as a bridge, allowing cryptocurrencies to coexist with fiat systems. This could lead to a hybrid financial ecosystem where compliant cryptos like XRP and XLM handle cross-border payments alongside CBDCs, potentially reducing reliance on SWIFT. Market sentiment. Posts on X reflect optimism about ISO 20022 compliant cryptos, with some users claiming they're pumping, quote unquote, due to their alignment with global standards. However, this sentiment is speculative and not universally supported by market data. Challenge: adopting ISO 20022 is resource intensive, requiring system upgrades and regulatory alignment. Smaller crypto projects may struggle, and non-compliant cryptos like Bitcoin and Ethereum face barriers to mainstream adoption unless they adapt. Well, Bitcoin is a store of value. It's like gold. It's not the same as a cryptocurrency. It's a crypto asset. It's like gold. Ethereum, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. I was not talking to you, Siri. Broader implications. Trust and transparency. ISO 20022's structured data reduces fraud, enhances transparency, addressing crypto's Wild West, quote-unquote, reputation. This could attract institutional investors. Speculative risks. While some predict price surges for compliant cryptos, the crypto market's volatility and regulatory uncertainties mean investments remain high risk. Future of finance. The convergence of ISO, blockchain, and CBDCs could create a more inclusive, efficient global financial system, but requires navigating complex technical and regulatory challenges. Final thoughts. ISO 20022 is a pivotal step toward integrating cryptocurrencies with traditional finance, with coins like XRP, XLM, and others leading the charge. While it could drive adoption and efficiency, claims of massive price surges or quantum financial system are speculative and should be approached cautiously. Currency revaluations may amplify the role of compliant cryptos, but their impact depends on broader economic and regulatory developments. For investors, focusing on projects with strong fundamentals and real-world adoption, for example, Ripple's partnerships, is key, but always weigh the risks. If you want to dive deeper into specific... Okay, so I'm going to pause here and fill up my apple juice, or maybe I'll just grab a water and change into a t-shirt. All right. And I'll think about my next questions. Okay. Got my water, got my shirt, and got another question asked to Grok. So here we go. I just am curious as to where we're going with the financial institutions in the United States. And then we'll look at it on a more global perspective. And also with the revaluation. Here's my question. Given what knowledge is available today, is it likely that some countries have already transitioned to CBDCs? For example, in Iraq, they have launched a digital currency system, if I'm not mistaken, and have been issuing cards, quote unquote, to their citizens. And now there are something like 20 million people who have the cards now. Is this part of their transition? The U.S. is speculated to have a quote-unquote rainbow currency. Is it possible that Is it possible we see a short-term rainbow currency in the United States during the period where cash is phased out and stable coins are adopted? Would the purpose of this rainbow currency be to create a clear detachment from the current financial system that is inflationary and move toward an asset-backed deflationary currency? And Grok says, let's break it down. Iraq's digital currency system and biometric cards. Iraq has not launched a full-fledged CBDC, but recent developments suggest it is modernizing its financial infrastructure, which, by the way, what is the CBI, Central Bank of Iraq? This is the CBI building. So they're not messing around. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. So they're doing, and there's 15 mega cities. Like, you know how in Dubai, Iraq is the next Dubai. Iraq is actually going to be, in my opinion, much bigger. Iraq has not launched a full-fledged CBDC, but recent developments suggest it's modernizing its financial infrastructure, which could be a precursor to exploring or adopting a CBDC in the future. Posts on X indicate that the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, has introduced a national electronic payment card system for employees and non-employees. Issued under its supervision and used exclusively for withdrawals in Iraqi dinars within Iraq. These cards, developed with companies like Innovatrix and International Smart Card (ISC), incorporate biometric technologies such as fingerprint and facial recognition for security. That's way more security than what we have in the United States. Wow. Reports suggest, I wonder, I just hovered over it. Now it's not doing it. Okay. Reports suggest that approximately 20 million of these cards are in circulation, reflecting significant adoption. However, these cards are not equivalent to a CBDC. They appear to be part of a broader effort to digitize payments and enhance financial inclusion, likely functioning as prepaid or debit cards linked to existing fiat currency like the Iraqi dinar, rather than a blockchain-based digital currency issued directly by the central bank. The CBI has expressed interest in digital currencies to transform the banking sector, noting their potential for precision. For example, supporting up to 8 decimal places compared to 2 in traditional systems. This suggests exploration of digital financial systems, but there's no conclusive evidence that Iraq has transitioned to a CBDC. Instead, these cards are likely a step toward modernizing payment systems, reducing cash dependency, and improving transaction security, which could lay the groundwork for a future CBDC pilot. Globally, only a few countries have fully launched retail CBDCs, including the Bahamas, Sand Dollar, Jamaica, Jamdex, Nigeria, Naira, with others like China's eCNY and India eRupee in advanced pilot stages. Iraq, I want to say Iraq, but it's pronounced Iraq, and Iran. I have Persian friends and they get on me about that. Iraq is not listed among these, and no authoritative sources confirm a CBDC launch there. The biometric card system is more akin to digital payment infrastructure than a true CBDC. which would involve a digital fiat currency issued and backed by the central bank, typically on a blockchain or centralized ledger. U.S. rainbow currency and stablecoin transition. The idea of a U.S. rainbow currency is largely speculative and lacks credible evidence from authoritative sources. The term rainbow currency has surfaced in some online discussions and conspiracy theories, often tied to claims of an asset backed currency to replace the current US dollar, which is seen by some as inflationary due to its fiat nature. However, no official statements from the Federal Reserve, US Treasury, or other government entities support the existence of a quote unquote rainbow currency or plans for its implementation. That was negative Nancy Grok. You're super. There's the little thing. What does that do? Well, Grok was super negative Nancy about the rainbow currency. That makes me think that the rainbow currency is going to happen more since you're so negative about it. Conspiracy theories, by the way, silly. Current U.S. I mean, you're safer today. This is not financial advice. You're safer today to be a conspiracy theorist than you are to just believe what's on the news. I just saying. I've gotten around a lot of bad situations by being a conspiracy theorist. One of these types of things, including one of those types of things, or two, or three, or four, or 10. Did I read that already? Current, that was Rainbow. Okay. Current U.S. stance on CBDCs and stablecoins. The U.S. is notably lagging in CBDC development. I've heard that U.S. is probably going to be last. In January 2025, President Trump issued an executive order prohibiting the establishment, insurance, or promotion of a retail CBDC. Probably because CBDC is like a super, it's like the fiat system all over again. It can be inflationary, it can be all these things. If it's asset backed like RLUSD and it's transparent and auditable, then it's deflationary, and it takes all of the crime, all of the, trillions of dollars that are funneled around all the NGOs or whatever and funneled into the hands of whoever. It takes all that money washing out of the picture. So if you have a CBDC, you're capable of still doing all the money washing. If it's a non-CBDC and it's like a stable coin, then you're much better off. Okay. Making the U.S. the only major economy to explicitly halt such efforts. The Federal Reserve has explored CBDCs, but has made no commitment to issuing one, focusing instead on improving existing payment systems and researching wholesale CBDCs, for example, Project Agora, for cross-border payments. Meanwhile, U.S. policymakers, particularly in the Republican-led Congress and the Federal Reserve, are prioritizing dollar-backed stablecoins over CBDCs. Thank you. It takes crime out of the picture. I don't care if it's left or right. I don't even believe in left or right. I just believe that CBDCs are there's too much control, too much authority. It needs to be auditable. It needs to be third party. There needs to be smaller government. Viewing them as a way to maintain the dollar's global reserve status without risks associated with a centralized digital currency. Thank you. Stablecoins like USDC or Tether are cryptocurrencies pegged to assets like the US dollar, often backed one-to-one by liquidity reserves. Not so much with Tether, though. Tether's going down. Tether's a Ponzi scheme. They are seen as a private sector alternative to CBDCs, offering similar benefits. For example, fast, low-cost transactions without central bank control. The U.S. is developing regulatory frameworks to support stablecoin adoption with policies like the EU's markets in crypto assets MiCA regulation serving as a contrast, as they impose strict reserve requirements that could limit non-euro stablecoins. Okay. Feasibility of a quote-unquote rainbow currency. The concept of a rainbow currency as a transitional mechanism to phase out cash and move towards stablecoins is not supported by current policy economic trends. Several points argue against its likelihood in the short term. No official plans. Cash phase-out challenges. Inflation versus deflation. That we might read that one. Purpose of a transitional currency. Transitional. Speculative. Lacks clear rationale. Instead of a rainbow currency, the U.S. is more likely to see increased stablecoin adoption. Okay. Connecting to ISO 20022 and currency regulation revaluations. I'm sorry. ISO 20022, as discussed previously, is a messaging standard that could facilitate CBDC and stablecoin integration by standardizing financial data and exchanges. In Iraq, the biometric card system could eventually align with ISO 20022 to streamline domestic and cross-border payments, potentially preparing for a CBDC. However, okay, so Iraq has also asked for like the United States to start investing in the IDX, the ISX, Iraqi Stock Exchange. So it's kind of like they're trying to integrate globally. So I don't know what Grok's on about. You know, how this could be a long-term thing, because it seems like they are around the corner and possibly like ahead of the United States, for example, way ahead of the United States in the development of this whole thing. Let's see this. Okay. And, well, we already know what the Federal Reserve looks like. It's like a dumpy building compared to this. This is beautiful. They've been working on this for a while. Could in Iraq, the biometric system could eventually align with. Okay, so however, there is no evidence linking these cards to a currency revaluation. For example, significant change in the Iraqi dinar's value. Revaluation rumors, often tied to speculative dinar investment schemes, lack credible backing and are not connected to the card system. In the United States, ISO 20022 adoption by financial institutions, for example, SWIFT's migration by March 2025. Well, we're in July. Could support stablecoin transactions, but doesn't imply a new currency. The standard's role is to enhance interoperability, not to signal a shift to an asset-backed system. Speculation about a rainbow currency as a deflationary tool ignores the complexity of moving away from the dollar's fiat status, which underpins global trade and finance. Likelihood of CBDC transitions globally. Launched CBDCs like the Bahamas and others. Pilots like in China. Challenges. CBDCs face risks like bank disintermediation, cybersecurity threats, and privacy concerns. Low demand in some countries, for example, Chinese ECNY accounts for only 0.16 of MO mass adoption. Yeah, in China, people have um, are abandoning their currency altogether, and they're going toward crypto because it's decentralized and it's not manipulatable. Like currency devaluation from a country's perspective is like, okay, we are going to like we'll be able to buy this from you, the Chinese will buy rare earth from the United States for let's just call it like $1 million a truckload, okay, or like $1 billion per shipment. That's what they pay for it, and then they refine it and they sell it to other countries, or they put it into the electronics and they sell those to other countries and whatnot. Um, but instead of China just saying that they're gonna like make that deal, they make that deal, and then they turn around the next day and they print out like $50 bajillion and they just say, okay, here you go, and like so it's kind of like so it's very like abusive, and it's criminal, really. Like, so that when you look at currencies like Ripple or XRP, there's only 100 billion. Like, there's no more. You can't make more. So you can mint more RLUSD, but RLUSD is asset backed, and you can audit that. For example, you like can't nobody's audited the Federal Reserve. Like, nobody knows like what the value of the dollar really is. So anyways, conclusion, biometric, the rainbow currency, global context. I don't know. I thought this conversation was going to go somewhere more interesting. But I'll go ahead and post this, and since it's already a little like long, so, and then I'll kind of toy around with this conversation and see if I can dig into it a bit more, because it is interesting, and maybe I need to kind of focus more on ISO 20022. I'm not quite sure, but anywho, I hope that you guys are having a wonderful evening, and thank you for hanging out, and I look forward to chatting with you guys again soon. Thank you again. Love you guys. Bye.